Alright, for this video, I'm going to be talking about how monk mode has helped me have peace. Recently, I found a YouTube video that introduced me to monk mode, and I wanted to talk about what I learned from that video and how I have applied what I learned and how that has helped me to have peace in my life. I have come up with a summary of what monk mode is, and I have organized that summary into 3 parts. The first part is meditation. The second part is blocking out distractions. And the third part is coming up with plans that can help you to reach your goals. Meditation is important because it helps you to organize your thoughts and memories better in your mind. That helps you to be able to make more reasonable decisions. That also helps you to be able to come up with plans, and that increases your chance of reaching your goals. Blocking out distractions is necessary because it helps with meditating, but also there can be many distractions in our lives that make it difficult for us to find the time to meditate. And so if we try too hard to keep those distractions in our life and hold on to them, then we may find it difficult or impossible to have enough time to meditate. And so how we get more time to meditate is by meditating. If we meditate, then we may realize what things in our life are distractions. And if we can overcome the addiction to those distractions, then we can focus more on our goals, and we can also have more time to meditate, which can help us to focus on our goals. And so I don't remember a lot of the specifics about what was said about monk mode in the video that I watched, but what I did remember from it, I tried to apply it, hoping that it would help me to have peace. And I noticed that monk mode is very similar to what I already have tried in the past, except what I often lacked was organization. Now that I think about it, organization could be considered a main part of monk mode. I think it goes along well with the coming up with plans part that I mentioned. But anyways, often what I have lacked in my life so far is organization. I like to think that I'm a very organized person, and I do come up with detailed plans and goals. However, I often fail to keep track of those goals and plans, and they end up becoming something that ends up remaining on my to-do list for a long time. And so instead of finishing something, I tend to keep it on my to-do list and add more things to my to-do list. And so then my to-do list gets bigger and bigger, and I become overwhelmed by how many things are now on my to-do list. And so even though I may have things appear to be organized on the outside, as far as how I've organized things in my room and how I've come up with rules and routines for myself, I do have a lot of organization in my life, but I'm lacking the accountability part. I'm lacking the keeping track of those goals. And even though I may put it in my to-do list or on my to-do list, I'm not sure which is correct grammar. Even though I may include in my to-do list that I want to do certain things on certain days of the week, I often tend to forget about what the to-do list says. And so I think what I need to do is be more specific in my to-do list about when I want to do something, as far as the order that I want to do it in, but also how I'm going to go about it. And so oftentimes I end up having to move things around because things don't seem to line up as well as I would like them to. I end up telling myself that I can't do something because this other thing happened and I'm too tired as a result of that. Or I can't do this thing because of this reason. And so sometimes I think that it's necessary for me to move things around on my schedule. Or in my schedule. I don't know what's correct grammar, but anyways, I don't know why that keeps bugging me, but it does anyways. Sometimes I have to move things around in my schedule because various reasons that I don't know how to explain at the moment. But sometimes I think I end up making excuses because I'm too afraid to do something. And so I view that as procrastination, and I'd like to be able to get things done on time, but I end up filling in the time with things that I didn't plan on happening. Things just seemingly pop up out of nowhere, and those things take up my time. Sometimes those things are curveballs that are beyond my control. Other times I end up deciding that I want to do something else. despite me wanting to stick to my own plans, I often fail to do so. So I want to be organized. I take steps towards trying to be organized, but then I end up failing at that despite my efforts. So over time, I'm trying to get better at sticking to my own plans, and sometimes I think that the problem might not be, or sometimes I think that the problem might be the plans that I come up with rather than my ability to carry them out. But anyways, over time, I'm hoping to get better at sticking to my own plans and taking my own advice, but energy and so many curveballs that get in my way make it difficult for me to be able to do what I want to do in the timing that I would like to be able to do it. And I often have a terrible sense of timing, and so I often either overestimate what I'll be able to do in a certain period of time, or I underestimate what I'm able to do. And so if I underestimate what I'm able to do, then I end up not knowing what to do with whatever remaining time I have, and then I might end up wasting that time because of being in waiting mode and not feeling like figuring out what to do next. And if I end up overestimating the amount of time I have, I end up not having enough time to do what I plan to do within that period of time. Anyways, monk mode is supposed to help with being more organized, and monk mode is also supposed to help with accountability. When you set aside time to come up with plans and focus on your goals, and you make an effort to block out distractions, then it becomes a lot easier to do what you plan to do. Even though you may have difficulties with that, even just attempting to use monk mode will make it a lot easier to stay organized and take steps towards reaching your goals. There's a couple sayings that I thought about. One of them is eyes on the prize, or something like that. I think it might have been keep your eyes on the prize. I don't know how the saying went, but that saying has to do with focusing on your goals. And there's another saying that I've heard a lot: think smarter, not harder. Oftentimes I have struggled with that because I have gotten caught up in the motions and have tried to do things faster rather than more efficient. And so I ended up not being able to think clearly enough to do things more efficiently, but also I've ended up wasting too much energy, which has made it harder for me to focus, and so I've been prone to making more mistakes, and those mistakes have ended up wasting my time. So by trying to do things faster, I ended up actually wasting more time. And so with meditation, it helps me to not only use up less energy, but also to do things more efficiently. And so I've had a lot of trouble with trying to get out of the burnout loop, and the burnout loop involves trying to make up for lost time by doing things faster, which results in using up a lot of energy, which results in burnout, and that burnout results in getting behind on completing tasks. So then I have, as a result of those things, gotten stuck in a loop that I call the burnout loop. And so I wanted to get out of the burnout loop, and monk mode helps with that, even though I have not yet completely gotten out of the burnout loop. I've noticed that the burnout loop is a lot less difficult to deal with now that I've been using monk mode, because I haven't had to deal with burnout as badly, because I've been preserving more of my energy by trying to slow down and think clearly rather than allowing myself to get caught up in the motions. And when you get caught up in the motions, life ends up becoming difficult, and so many things end up feeling like work, and it's hard to be relaxed and have peace when you are stuck in work mode. And so monk mode is supposed to help you to be able to relax and focus rather than using up too much energy trying to be fast rather than efficient. I'm not saying that it isn't possible to be both fast and efficient, but if I have to pick one, I'd prefer to be efficient over fast. Something that I've noticed that to me seems to be very similar to monk mode is stoic, or being a stoic. There's this thing called stoicism, but I looked up a definition for stoic, and that definition says a person who can endure pain or hardship without showing their feelings or complaining. That's how I used to be for a long time in my life, until I realized that I needed to focus more on things that bother me because I was letting myself go. However, with monk mode, I need to find a balance between focusing enough on my pain and hardships without complaining too much, and without thinking too negatively, but I also don't want to let myself go, because I have to make sure that my pain and hardships don't get in the way of my goals. So I have to try to make myself more comfortable by being mindful of the problems that I have and the things that cause me pain. And so I have to defend myself against those things so that they don't distract me too much from working towards my goals. And so monk mode helps me to do things more naturally without having to put in as much effort and without having to use as much energy. And that energy that I get to save as a result of monk mode helps me to be more creative. What ends up happening is I do things such as consuming content in order to get inspiration. That inspiration eventually turns into creativity. If I try to force it to happen at just any point in time, then it drains too much of my energy and makes it feel like work, and things don't work out so well. But if I let my mind do the work for me, then I come up with ideas without having to put in nearly as much effort. And so I end up using a lot less energy and I can think clearly. And so my mind ends up coming up with ideas without me consciously trying to. And so then it becomes very easy for me to come up with ideas for making YouTube videos and doing other things that I'm curious about. And looking up a lot of things, of course, because I end up being curious about a lot of things and looking up questions, hoping to find answers. And I try to block out a lot of distractions so that my mind can do its thing. I like to avoid too many subject changes in conversations because I like to be able to learn things from the conversations that I have, and in order to do so, I have to have things organized enough so that I can remember the important parts of a conversation that I've had. In order to do so, I have to make sure that the subject doesn't get changed too much, which that's often difficult. I also have to make sure that I don't end up changing the subject too much, whether it be in a conversation or me just switching tasks too much, because my mind doesn't always seem to be able to easily decide what it wants me to do. I don't know if I've already said it, but there was something I read. I think it might have been a comment on one of my videos. I'm not for certain. I don't remember exactly how it was worded, but I wrote down how you get more time for meditation is with more meditation, because meditation helps you to have better judgment and think clearly, and that helps you to be able to cut out certain distractions from your life so that you have more time to meditate, so that you can focus on your goals and come up with ideas. You'd be surprised what ideas your mind would allow you to be able to come up with if you just took the time to allow your mind to do its thing, and next thing you know, ideas are popping up in your mind. Whether you end up using those ideas or not, that's up to you, and you may decide that a lot of the ideas that your mind comes up with that you don't like, but you never know unless you try, and I think that it's worth a try. Oftentimes, when I'm in a rush to get things done, I often feel like there's not enough time to get things done. But then I've noticed that when I try to slow down and think clearly, I end up doing things with more efficiency. And so I either end up getting things done in about the same amount of time or even faster, because I figure out ways to do things faster by not being in a rush. Which may not make sense to everybody, but sometimes it may seem like you're doing something faster when in reality it may appear that way to you because you're in a panic. But anyways, I like to do big picture thinking first, then I try to figure out the details. Sometimes it can be very overwhelming for me to try and figure out so many details when my mind is not in a good enough state for me to be able to remember a lot of little details. So sometimes I have to focus on the big picture thinking first, and then later on, when I'm in a better state of mind, then the details might be revealed to me. But anyways, I have to listen to my mind and take notes. Sometimes zoning out may not always be a waste of my time. Sometimes, if I take the time to listen to what my mind is telling me, whether it be in the form of intrusive thoughts or otherwise, or my dreams, whatever it is that's been on my mind, if I try to pay attention to it and try to understand it, it can help me to be able to solve my problems, but also it can be inspiration to help me come up with ideas, whether it be with making YouTube videos or other things. And so, meditation can help with less self-hate. Oftentimes I've been angry at myself and impatient with myself, but I've learned that I need to be more patient with myself so that I can not only feel better, but also not waste as much energy by trying to rush things. And I've learned the more that I fight with myself, the more conflicted I get. And by conflicted, I mean doing things and thinking things that make it harder for me to reach my goals. Things that drain my energy. Things like that I want to avoid. And I really like to be able to give my life meaning and a sense of purpose and direction. And I do so by creating, by contributing to things greater than myself. And so I have to try to find a balance between creating and consuming content. I need to create in order to feel like I'm contributing, but I also need to consume content in order to get inspiration and to learn things, and also for enjoyment and relaxation. And I try to humble myself. That way, I have less pressure on myself. I end up sometimes trying to carry the weight of the world on my shoulders, so to speak. And I realize that that's a problem, and so I need to be less hard on myself in that way. Because I realize that it isn't my duty alone to hold up humanity and keep humanity going. I have my part in helping with that, but there are plenty of other people in the world, and it's a shared responsibility. And so I have to focus on my part and not trying to take it all on by myself. And there's this thing in Warframe, it's a song called We All Live Together, that is what I'm reminded about when I think about the carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders thing. And I like to think about forming healthy bonds with my fellow human beings so that I can connect with them and help them learn and they help me learn and work together with them to make the world a better place. That's what I'd like for us as humans to be able to do. And I've also learned that there is an issue that a lot of us humans have, which is being addicted to temporary pleasures that this world has to offer. And so I've learned that it is very difficult for the majority of us humans to overcome those addictions to the temporary pleasures that this world has to offer us. And so my goal is to figure out how to overcome my own addictions to those temporary pleasures, but also I want to be able to help other people with that. And so I plan on making a video about that at some point, and meditation is necessary in order to not only organize your thoughts and memories better, but also to have defenses built up against addiction to temporary pleasures. What matters to me in my life should not be the temporary pleasures, because the temporary pleasures are temporary. They are fleeting. They don't last, and I become bored of them, and then I try to replace them with something else, and then that fades away, and so on and so forth, and then I feel like I'm stuck in this seemingly never-ending cycle or loop. And so I've learned that if I want to have any chance or hope at breaking free from that prison of the addiction to temporary pleasures, then I need to have things in my life that I don't view as temporary. I need to have more permanent things, things that are of more value to me, value that is lasting, value that is deeper rather than surface level. And so developing healthy bonds with my fellow human beings is how I get closer to overcoming the addiction to temporary pleasures. Because those bonds help fill voids in, I guess you could say, my heart. And so there are things, many things, that temporary pleasures lack. And temporary pleasures, they stall for time, but how I view them is that they should be used as a tool to help humanity stay connected, and a tool to help humanity learn and teach one another. And so overindulging does not help. Overindulging leads to addiction, which leads to wasting so much time and energy trying to feed the addiction. And so, if a person wants to maintain a sense of direction and purpose in their life, they need to be able to overcome that addiction to those temporary pleasures. And if they want peace and a feeling of purpose and meaning and life that is everlasting, then They need to learn how to love one another and to love the Creator. Now, they also need to learn to love themselves as well. And I need to wrap this video up soon because I don't know for how much longer that my phone will allow me to record for. So, in order to overcome, or in order to obtain peace, we have to overcome those addictions to temporary pleasures. So, that's it for this video. Peace.